Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to all the listeners from around the world that are tuning into this radio broadcast today. I am Tammy Markee, your host of Tammy Markee Radio Show, sponsored by Millionaires in Training Radio. We are based out of Houston, Texas. Listeners, please let me share a little bit about myself. I am a native of New Orleans, Louisiana. I'm a concerned humanitarian, co-author, international human rights activist, evangelist, entrepreneur, and forex trader in a $5.3 trillion daily market. Also, I'm a columnist for Kish magazine called Dynasty of Dreamers and founder of Dynasty Dreamer International. Well, listening audience, Candace Michelle will be co-hosting today's show. She is a kingdom advocate and author. Candace is the visionary steward of Wise Living International, a nonprofit organization and director of Wise Living Group, powered by eXp Realty, LLC. Currently, Candace Michelle lives in Pearland, Texas, where she furthers her kingdom mandate to empower, inspire, educate, and encourage others to move from existing to living. You can follow her on Facebook at Candace Michelle and Instagram at The Real Candace Michelle. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have a talented lady on today's show. She's a true example of a dynasty dreamer, and that spirit is going to be an outstanding show. We on the radio broadcast today with Dee Bowden. Yes, Dee Bowden. I am supremely thrilled that Dee Bowden is our highly distinguished guest today. She is an internationally recognized leader, business mogul, financial maven, and groundbreaking entrepreneur who has facilitated and empowered countless people to the financial and personal prosperity of them in their community. She's a legendary in the field of international commerce and a world-changer woman of historical dimension. She shares core values of empowerment and entrepreneurship to many. Dee Bowden is the founder of BCS Solutions, a revenue recovery consulting firm that helps small companies improve their cash flow by addressing the accounts receivables passed through invoices. Dee is a native of Boston, Massachusetts, and she has over 10-year experience in the financial market. Dee is a graduate of the Steve Harvey Act Like a Success School of Business Acceleration Program. Her business, BCS Solutions, focuses on helping companies recover lost revenue and increase cash flow by identifying the financial disconnects. Dee has successfully collected over $20 million for several companies and government agencies. For Fun Dee enjoys live jazz, hot air balloon rides, and Ferris Wheels. And she was a guest on Impact the World radio show hosted by Cheryl Wood in 2019. Dee was a guest on the podcast Your Voice, Your Power with Anika Wilson. Dee was a digital facilitator on Success Women's Conference in 2018 with Robin Roberts from Good Morning America and Lisa Nichols. Well, today's episode is called Financial Management Solutions. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the phenomenal world of Dee Bowden. How are you doing today, Dee Bowden?
Good morning, good morning, good morning. I am doing fabulous. Wow, what an amazing introduction. First of all, Miss Tammy, thank you so very much. As I heard you describe this, I'm like, wow, God, you helped me do all that? Man, you rock. This is amazing.
Yes, it is so amazing, and we are absolutely thrilled and honored to have you on this radio broadcast today. I commend you for all the great work that you are doing in the financial arena and touching so many lives around the world.
It does. It does. Well, let me talk about that a little bit. First of all, as we were talking before we went on air, I was telling you that I'm like the little kid who's like super excited who gets to be on TV or on radio or podcast. I'm like, wow, are you serious? I get to do this? Are you kidding me? This is amazing. And what's amazing about it, number one, that as you talked about, being about the kingdom business, I'm always grateful to God for every opportunity that he allows me to have, this one included. And to you, Miss Tammy and Miss Candace, thank you so much for letting me share my story and for putting me out there as now the financial guru. I'm like, oh, I got a new title today, y'all. Did y'all know that? I was like, okay, cool.
Yes, you are. You are truly the financial guru as well as a business mogul.
Yes.
And like I said, you have such an impressive resume, impressive roster, I must say. Yours is an incredibly rich resume. Can you give us a synopsis of your eventful life? Let's have a closer examination of the life of Dee Bowden.
Well, sure. Well, first of all, like I said, good morning to your listeners. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending upon where y'all listen to in the world. Let's do that. Number two, I, Dee Bowden, am originally from Boston, Massachusetts. I am a Patriots fan, so we're the Super Bowl champs right now, so don't hate, but that's my team. So that's one of my things. I love sports. I love football. I love baseball. And those are my two main sports. And on top of that, my parents were originally from a little town called Mount Olive, North Carolina. So basically, I was born in Boston, raised there, and then every summer from the time I was a baby until I was 18 years old, we took, back in the day, a 24-hour Greyhound bus trip to this little town called Mount Olive, North Carolina. And my grandparents were very influential in learning, of course, family and values and belief in God and respecting God's prominence and his power. And so those 18 summers were very important to teaching me, of course, hard work and faith, values, strength, and to not give up when it gets hard, because, this journey called life has a lot of different challenges. And for anybody who's listening, you have to recognize, number one, God never promised that you won't have issues. He promised that he will be with you. And I think when you finally get that piece, like you sink your teeth into that, then you're like, okay, cool. This is how it's going to go. And then you have to believe that eventually, whatever the challenge is, whether it's a business challenge, a personal challenge, a financial challenge, eventually it will change. What makes me still do this thing called financial recovery. Financial recovery is that I started over 20 years ago. Actually, my journey in this started by doing data entry. So I want people to understand that I didn't just pop up and do this today. I've actually been working at this for almost 20 years. I started off in an accounts payable office. I had batches of invoices to key in every day, 5 days a week, 40 hours a week for 5 weeks. I got an opportunity to become an accounts payable clerk, and understanding how invoices are put together, how they're billed out to the companies, and then I also learned the other piece of how money is collected. And then I got an opportunity to be an assistant contract administrator, because in every business, there's four main things that happen. You have sales, you have accounts payable, so you have sales, somebody who's doing a presentation and selling your product or service. You have accounts payable, somebody who's invoicing on behalf of the company for your product or service. You have accounts receivable, somebody who's collecting your money on behalf of what was sold. And then you have a contract. And when I learned that every business, I don't care what it is, whether you're a solopreneur, small business, medium, large, everybody has somebody who does sales, somebody who bills, somebody who has to collect the money, and a contract or an agreement. Once I learned that those are the four main pieces of business, I wanted to learn how contracts work. So I spent my time as a junior contract administrator, and then I finally got to become promoted. And so when I got promoted, I was promoted in a environmental engineering consulting firm, and they were building a water filtration plant up in Hemlock, New York. And so I actually was the administrator who took care of all the invoices, collecting all the money, dealing with the city of Rochester, New York at the time contractually on all the things that were happening. And then I had a team of construction guys that were actually building this water filtration plant. And one other thing, I was in grad school at the time I was doing all this. You can only imagine. It was just a little complicated and a little bit stressful, but I'm grateful to say that, number one, I finished grad school. Obviously, I graduated, got my master's degree. But secondly, the water filtration plant was built. And along the process, I learned the importance of building relationships. Building relationships in business and in life is very important. At the time of that water filtration plant, we had a previous administrator who didn't understand the complications of what the city of Rochester, New York wanted. They didn't understand how the forms were supposed to be filled out. They didn't understand all of the requirements. And so we had a setback, and so I had to untangle hundreds of thousands of dollars that had not been paid by building the relationship with the chief engineer, promising him that I would do things exactly the way he requested, and then assuring him that going forward we would not have this issue again.
That is truly amazing what you share. And you are so right about building relationships, because when you build that relationship, you develop that constructive partnership with people. And that becomes like a strong foundation. And then you'll be able to have that foundation with other people, and then all your skills start coming together, the knowledge from other people, the knowledge that you have, and then you bring real-world experiences in it as well. And I appreciate your honesty about that, because honesty is the bedrock of a good relationship. And so you've been having this entrepreneur talent for so long. And so you're able to show us these core principles that you have learned over the years and give us these strategies that we can have to have a more richer experience in our work ethics and our business as well. And people, when they hear people like you, they become more innovative. Innovative in the things that they want to do. And so many people are feeling stagnated. They don't know what direction to go in their business. So when they hear people like you, how you started out and how you were able to come in together and network with other people and bring other partnerships in and develop relationships, even in the community and with an organization, it tends to bring a certain trust factor in there with other people. And so what you actually share with the listening audience, Dee, I must say that it's a compelling, ambitious journey to success is highly illuminating and fascinating. It's an incredibly instructive guidepost to greatness, I must say. And even what you mentioned about Mount Olive, I tell you, the people of North Carolina has been so gracious, the ones who I've came in contact with, especially like after Hurricane Katrina. And Mount Olive is right there around Goldsboro and Dudley area.
Yes, ma'am.
So I know exactly where that's at. And so it's just it's a small community area, but it's strong in faith. Yeah, a lot of those people are strong in faith in that area. And so he says it's always good to connect with people in that area. So that is truly, truly amazing to me. So we appreciate what you just shared with us, Dee Bowden, very enlightening and inspiring and motivational extreme. So let's speak a little bit about economics. What do you feel would be the adequate address to the crippling economic issues prevalent among people today?
That's a great question. I think number one, I'll put it. The best way I can put it is kind of put it in a simplistic way. Most of your listening audience may or may not know, of course, there was just this U.S. government shutdown for 35 days, and you heard, between 800,000 and 1 million people were stuck, one way or another, because they were depending upon their paycheck to be in. They did the work and expected to get paid. And then the other piece that people aren't talking about are the government contractors, the people who support the government, who may never get that money back. And so in terms of economics, I think it was a wake-up call. I think, number one, it's important to realize that you need to have savings in place. I think that there's something called the 52-week challenge, a savings challenge. I think regardless of where you are right now, this is the second week in February. I think if you're listening to this today, I think you ought to Google 52-week savings challenge. I think you ought to start and work to have a minimum of $1,000 set aside, so that if this government shutdown or anything else happens to you, you at least have $1,000 that will allow you to basically manage your life for a month. I can't speak to all the principles, but I do know that savings is very important. I think having a plan is very important. I think reducing your debt is very important. I think that as you're mapping out your finances for this year, I think you ought to definitely, like I said, have a savings plan. I think you ought to reduce your debt. I think you ought to realize that if the government can shut down and can jack up people's lives for 35 days or more, and knowing that there's another pending one coming this week, it ought to be a wake-up call that you ought to be making sure you are managing your finances correctly. If you need help, then you need to be looking at, okay, there are books that you can read, there's library resources, of course, there's Google, and then I'm sure we could probably figure out, another resource for your listening audience. But the point is that managing your money is very important. Reducing your debt is very important, and then saving. I mean, that would be the things I would talk about in terms of economics, making sure that you're ready for the upcoming situations that happen often.
That is so profound what you're sharing with us, Dee, and I totally agree. It's about savings. And even what you mentioned about the government shutdown, the furlough that so many people were dealing with, I know that Candace can speak more about that. But even though we have so much information on the World Wide Web. A lot of people are really not getting how to